multiply by each one of these terms. So x squared times x gives me x cubed. X squared times plus 1 gives me plus x squared. And we want to see what the remainder is. So this divided into this so far, x squared times. So let's see what the remainder is. So we're going to take this away from this. So taking it away means multiply across by minus 1. So that becomes minus. And then this becomes minus. So now we have minus x cubed plus x cubed cancels. Minus x squared minus 5x squared gives us minus 6x squared. And what's left over here is plus 2x plus 8. And now we do the division again. X divided into minus 6x squared goes minus 6x times. Now we take this value and we multiply it by each one of these terms, bringing it down under these two terms. So minus 6x times x gives us minus 6x squared. Minus 6x times plus 1 gives us minus 6x. And now what we do is we take this away from this quadratic. To take it away, we multiply across by minus 1. So this becomes positive and this becomes positive. 6x squared minus 6x squared gives us 0. They cancel. 6x plus 2x gives us 8x. And let's bring down what's left over here, which is the 8. Now we do it again. We want to keep doing this until we get a specific remainder. So x into 8x goes plus 8 times. So 8 times 8x, 8 times x gives us 8x. 8 times plus 1 gives us plus 8. And now what we do is we take these away, multiply across by minus 1. So the 8x becomes minus, the 8 becomes a minus. And you see when we add the terms, they cancel and they cancel, which leaves us with 0. So what this is saying from a division perspective is x plus 1 divides into this cubic, x squared minus 6x plus 8 times with a remainder of 0, which is what should happen if x plus 1 is in fact a factor of that cubic. So now what we know is this, is we now know something really important and interesting, yeah, is that we now know this, is that from x cubed minus 5x squared plus 2x plus 8 equals 0, we now know that this thing here is the same as x plus 1 times x squared minus 6x plus 8. Okay, this is the same. So this must be equal to 0. Okay, because this was a factor of this. It went in this amount of times, which means that when we multiply these two numbers together, okay, these two polynomials, we will get that. And you can actually try that yourself to multiply this by this, and you'll clearly see that you get this. So what does this mean? Two numbers are multiplied together to give us 0, which means that either one of them must be 0. So therefore, what we have is that, well, this implies that x plus 1 must be equal to 0, okay, or x squared minus 6x plus 8 must be equal to 0. What does this tell us? This tells us that this implies that x is equal to minus 1, which was our root that we started off with. So we know already that that's a fact here. Okay, but what we know now is that x squared minus 6x plus 8 must be equal to 0. So we have x squared minus 6x plus 8 must be equal to 0, which is a polynomial. And the rational root test would say, why don't you consider the factors of a0 in this case over the factors of a2, and it's plus or minus them. Now the factors of a, we know what they are. The factors of a, so a0 is equal to 8. The factors of a are, well, the positive ones are 1, 2, 4, and 8. Okay? And the factors of a2, which is coefficient of the x squared, a2, is equal to, is equal to 1. So what we have is 1. So all the possible factors are plus or minus these things here. Okay. Now let's just keep in mind that we've already found a factor of this particular. We've already found a factor of this to be sorry. All the possible roots are these numbers over this number. So 1 over 1, 2 over 1, 4 over 1, and 8 over 1. Actually, plus or minus them things. So once again, the possible roots of this particular quadratic are 1 over 1, which is a 1, 1 over minus 1 over 1, which is a minus 1, 2, minus 2, because it's plus or minus them, 4, minus 4, 8, minus 8. And just to be exhaustive here, we start off with all the roots. So we start off with x is equal to 1, and to see whether that's a solution of this. So well, what would that mean? That would mean that 1 squared minus 6 times 1 plus a, which is equal to 1 minus 6 plus a, which actually is equal to, well, what's that equal? That's 9. That's equal to 3. So 1 ain't the root of that. So we can ignore 1. Right? What about minus 1? When x is equal to minus 1, we end up with, we're sort of back, really, aren't we, really, to actually testing all of the individual possible roots, but this time we're working on a quadratic, yeah? So we really need to factor this quadratic is what we're saying here, yeah? So now we have x, excuse me, so now we have x is equal to minus 1. Am I overkilling this here? Minus 1 times minus 1 squared minus 6 times minus 1 plus a. What does that give us? That gives us 1 plus 6 plus a, which is certainly not equal to 0. So that's definitely not equal to 0. What about when x is equal to 2? When x is equal to 2, we end up with, it's 2 squared minus 6 times 2 plus a. Well, what does that give us? 2 squared is equal to 4. Minus 6 times 2 gives us minus 12 plus a. Oh, that's equal to 0. Yeah, so x is equal to 2 is now a factor of this thing here. Okay? And we can continue now. So x is equal to 2. So from the rational root test,